Well, hello everyone and welcome to race meeting number 3 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. This time around it comes at you from the Red Bull Ring here in Spielberg, Austria. My name is Connery Maddock and I'm joined by the ever wonderful and ever lovely Jake Sperry for this evening's proceedings. We haven't had a repeat winner in the Contender Series since the very start of the season. Is here at the Red Bull Ring going to be the first time that we see that? All that question and many more will be answered here today, but Jake, we've had an enthralling first 2 rounds already.
We absolutely have. Everything has been building up to this, the halfway point of the season. Some drivers haven't got off to a great start. They're looking at today, probably the closest racing that we'll have today as the best possible opportunity. For those who are at the front, they're looking to secure those points, and it's going to be really difficult today for them because they know, Connery, that this is going to be a close field, and they know the moment that you step out of line around this track, which only has a singular left-hand bend today, you're going to be on the wrong side of the train pretty much for the next 2 laps.
Yeah, and well, if you thought you were familiar with the Red Bull Ring, well, we are going on a very shortened version of the Red Bull Ring here today. If you thought the Red Bull Ring was already short, then think again. This national layout is, well, going to be very fast and furious. Just take me through it, Jake.
Absolutely, in the shadow of the Großglockner Mountain, this here at the base of what is one of the most amazing circuits, actually found itself in without use within the last 20 years. It took Red Bull to restore this circuit to its former glory in the early 2010s, and my goodness, what a great track this is. Just the one left-hand corner, everything else a right-hander, and about halfway along that's run down the hill, of course, which normally goes to Ramus Corner turn 3, we take that right-hand bend, turn number 2, a long cascading right-hander, which does plateau out in the middle, but watch out for the first corner, especially on lap 1, that's going to be really difficult, but those final 2 corners, they are fast, they are ferocious, and watch out for that back left tyre. That Michelin tyre is going to have a lot of work and load put into it through that final section.
And you'd have to argue that the shortened layouts here, it definitely changes all the characteristics of the circuit. We don't really have any long runs down into heavy braking zones, so we'll see how that one works out. Here's a recap of the points. However, the top 15 drivers from this Contender Series will promote themselves into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup for next season. Currently, it's Julian Sunen just getting himself into that top 15, with Valtteri Melgart narrowly missing out at the moment. That top 15 is the crucial point that we'll be talking about over the course of this season. Yes, there are drivers towards the top of the order that will want to take the championship title. Currently, the points are tied between Giassi and Vecchio with regards to that at the moment, but that is kind of secondary compared to what's going on around P15.
And it's going to be so crucial, that P15 battle, because it's only a 6-point swing right now between Sunen and Melgar. And 6 points in this series, think about it, a pole position is worth 10 points. That is enough of a swing in itself, and today's probably the best place today where you're going to get that. I do also want to point out, reigning champion, of course, of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup is Diogo Pinto. He drives for Team Redline 1 and 2 right now, Connery, in this series, and this is lone qualifying. This is what makes it even more difficult as you go around. You only get 8 minutes to set a time, and you only get 1 time. This is hot shot qualifying at its finest.
Yeah, it, well, places all of the demand and the expectations just on this single lap. If you completely bottle it, well, you'll be starting towards the very back of the starting grid for race number 1 and have to try and race your way back to the front of the pack. We're on board, though, with Tua Mustatila as he got himself the feature race win last time out at Silverstone in quite impressive fashion as well. Finnish driver getting that one in the bag, and he's been looking very good coming into today as well. 3rd in the championship at the moment, so lots of points ahead of that 15th place cut line. But he's just got to make sure that he gets these consistent top 10 finishes now to make sure that he gets his ticket into the Super Cup season.
Having to use a lot of curb through both turns 1 and 2, using all of the road available coming out of Vert Corner, and now it's only just 2 laps to go up the plateau. This is going to be one of the places you can expect to pass at Jochenrindt Corner here. fast, ferocious right-hander where you need all the momentum to carry into this final corner of Red Bull Mobile. Open up the exit as much as you can. Try and find that drive to the line. Times, and there's a little shake of, I'm not happy with that lap. Should be your fastest on a 49 flat at the moment, an 0.27. But not happy, not confident, but everyone else behind hasn't been able to find that time as of yet, Connery.
An interesting thing to note is that there were a lot more drivers in the 48s in practice. Kevin Nielsen, currently the only driver in this qualifying session to get himself into the 48-second bracket. Of course, there's been a bit of track evolution since practice. The track may have gotten a little hotter, which affects the lap times here, so that might be one reason why we're seeing that. There's Sam Keitel heading his way through and across the line now, but the margins are oh so slim here in this qualifying session. Nielsen currently only has pole position by 0.03 of a second at the moment. That's how close it is. There's Bobby Zelensky in the number 83 Commander machine.
And Bobby Zelensky is going to have to absolutely push here on this lap. He's the only driver when it comes to the NASCAR series who has booked his place into the Championship 4, so he's got a lot riding on that. But here, he's really behind the 8 ball at this point in time. He's got to put this time up there. Probably top 10 he'd be really happy with, but over the line, the lap time does not count, and as such, will not set a representative lap. Will have to go from the back of the field only to make it happen. Here is David Williams. The oldest driver in the field is David Williams, which is surprising to say as he finds himself in his early to mid-30s and he makes his run over towards the line. Williams looking for a good lap time is a 49.5, and well, I'd light up the wheels as well if I had a 49.5 lap time like that. That was the slowest time, Connery, we'd seen so far on the board. Bryn Collins, co-anda development, looking to try and make a run as well.
It's interesting to see all the Coanda drivers actually doing their laps, well, much later than everyone else, as Bryn Collins heads his way through and across the line. That's not a valid lap for him either. Interesting thing to note, Jordan Caruso, who was the fastest car in practice, did not set himself a valid qualifying time. So the track limits really catching people out here today, Jake, as we're riding on board with Kevin Nielsen. This is a recap of his pole position setting lap time.
Absolutely, and for Kevin Nielsen, this is a really important lap for the Fire Sim Sport driver. Had a horrible round 1, rebounded nicely round 2 last week at Silverstone, and in through turn 2. Just look how narrow he takes turn 2. It's so important that you're putting the power down as early as possible and keeping this lap nice and neat, and that's what Kevin Nielsen does. He knows that this is about fine margins, and this has been as much of a fine margin drive. All the way out on the curb, trying to gather as much momentum as possible. Running through then towards the penultimate corner and into the final corner. It's a wonderful lap time from the driver from Sulista in what is Denmark. And Kevin Nielsen is here with me right now. Kevin, that was a crucial lap time. It looked like everything was all nicely poised and together and nicely congealed in terms of a lap. For you, how important was it in terms of seeing everyone's going to put those big times in early, knowing the field's going to be so close to hit every single mark like you have done in practice?
Yeah, it was a pretty good lap. It was just about, I just needed to take it easy to don't get the off track. So yeah, and I still pulled it together to get pole, and I'm happy for that, and also for the points that I get. So yeah, very happy for the lap.
You get 10 points, you get a little bit safer. Good luck then when it comes to the sprint race, and hopefully a good performance from you here today, Kevin.
Thank you.
Well, Connery, that is Kevin Nielsen, and he put an absolutely fantastic time in for the Fire Sim Sport Porsche, and he knows now that he's got the job of holding everybody else behind him at bay.
Yeah, absolutely. He's already gotten himself a podium so far this season. That came in the feature race at Silverstone, but he had a relatively poor start to the season, which is why he's only in 10th place in terms of the standings at the moment. So this will be a big boost if he's able to convert this at least into a good finish in the sprint race. There's a recap, though, of the schedule of this Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series season. It's going to be the most amount of laps in both a sprint and a main race here today due to to how short this lap time is. Like I said, we've got ourselves one driver within the 48 seconds in terms of qualifying lap time. It will be a bit slower in terms of race pace, of course, but these laps are going to blow by so quickly. And, well, we'll have to see how these guys deal with it, because there's, in terms of the amount of cars on such a short circuit, it might be a bit of pandemonium.
It might, and the crucial point is that you don't want to be on the wrong side of the split. That is the big key. When you've got a massive pack and everyone's very similar in pace, all it takes is just one driver to try and look down the inside, not find the move, and all of a sudden a gap develops of 2 car lengths, 3 car lengths, 4 car lengths. By the time you realize it, you can be outside of a second and a half, and that becomes almost impossible to claw back unless you're trying to look to move forward. You have to be alert to drivers who are going to try and be aggressive and drivers who are going to be defensive. This is the most important part of the race.
Yeah, it really is. And, well, we always call Red Bull Ring a momentum track, and it's going to be no different here on this shortened layout. But for more information on the schedule, standings, and how to become a driver in this series, potentially, log on to iRacing.com/PESC today. That's iRacing.com/PESC. And, maybe we'll see you in the qualifying series next season to get yourself into the Contender series, and then potentially, if you're very lucky and very good at what you do, you potentially might join the top drivers in the Supercup. But let's have a look at our drivers just getting themselves ready for what's to come here at the Red Bull Ring, getting themselves all dialed in, their settings in the right place, and well, we are very short amount of time away from getting the green flag here at the Red Bull Ring. But here's the starting grid then. Kevin Nielsen on pole position with Tuomas Tattila in P2, with Gustavo Ariel in P3, with Simone Maria Marciano lining up in 4th. Peter Berryman will line up 5th with Outro Melgar in P6. Matthias Jensen in P7 with Valentin Mandenach in P13 with Vialat in Mandenach in P8, Vialat in P9. Gianni Vecchio in P10 with Lasterbach in P11. Oscar Mangan will start 12th with Sunan in 13th, Chadwick in 14th, Bixrud in 15th, and Giassi in 16th. Further back, you got Keitet in 17th with Bouchard in P18, Sipala in P19 with Rine starting in P20 here today. And then outside of the top 20, you got Yarshall, you've got Biko, you've got the driver of Machevsky there in P23, Alexei Niesov in P24 with Kita P25. Dambeat and Melkers and Williams will be the drivers that round out the drivers who actually set themselves lap times here today. But Jordan Caruso, Bobby Zelensky, Victor Miranda and Bryn Collins, they were not able to set themselves qualifying times, and therefore will start at the very back of the grid. So if you want to have a look at drivers that potentially might be able to work their way through the field, then the last 2 rows of the starting grid here today might be where you want to pay the closest attention to. But the drivers have all gotten themselves ready now here for round number 3 of the Contender Series here at the Red Bull Ring. Kevin Nielsen on pole position with the Cova car of Dattila, the winner from the feature race last time out, on that front row as well. We're racing here at the Red Bull Ring. Immediately Nielsen goes to the defensive towards the inside towards turn number 1, but Dattila's been tagged from behind. Marciano in the Altus car was responsible for it as they all fan out. Couple of cars out into the runoff area. 3-4 wide on instance down in towards turn number 2. This is crazy.
Oh, it is. Someone's gone off in the back as well, so there's troubles everywhere. But what an incredible start. How did Tuomas Dattila hold on to that with Simone rattled off of the start, with how aggressive Gustavo Ariel was defending off of the grid stall, to all of a sudden have that come back into a position where this race pretty much is about scrap. Fine position, and straight away Kevin Nielsen has been able to walk away in the early goings. Everyone behind is searching for a way to go through, and still we got a little bit of 2 wide as Oscar Mangan has Gianni Vecchio for a bit of company as they look to fight up towards the Niki Lauda curve.
Yeah, Vecchio, of course, starting in P10, hasn't been able to improve position quite yet. He does get himself around the outside as we look a little bit further forwards here to a move down the inside for Gustavo Ariel. That's on Outro Melgar. They're in towards turn number 2, flicking it in towards turn number 3 as well. Fantastic pass from Ariel to get that position on lockdown, but Yeah, this has been quite chaotic here, at least at the start, but no major casualties, big wrecks like we've seen at the start of some of the races gone by. It seems like everyone has mostly been able to keep pointing in the right direction, of course, but there are always going to be one or two drivers that have the worst of luck on the first lap.
And one of the big losers out on the opening lap was Valentin Mondana, who is down in 25th position, has dropped 17 spots in the opening 2 laps. So big troubles there. In the main pack, you can just notice how difficult it is to find an overtake. It is always going to be tough. They've got 18 laps here in this sprint. The main race, they'll have double that. They'll have 36 laps to figure this out. But the key right now is build yourself a gap, build yourself some time, and you've got that opportunity to go forward. And what was proven by lap 1, Connery, is that you need that time and space. You've got to make it yourself.
Yeah, here's the replay of lap number 1. We had 4 wide ever so briefly coming down into there. That was very sketchy indeed. On the replay there, we saw Tim Yarshell spun, wrapped around the nose of Phil Bouchard. That's why those drivers dropped all the way down the order here, at least in the early goings. But there's the front of the field working their way through now. You've got Thomas Tattila trying to hold on to P2 from Peter Berryman. Berryman's up 2 spots compared to where he started. He was in 5th, and now he's in 3rd, continuing to press forwards and looking pretty good behind the wheel of that Apex Racing Team car. Nielsen, by the way, in the race lead, he's already got himself a 1.6 second gap. Not the first time we've seen a Fire car develop a gap.
So there is a lot of gap that's there. There is opportunity, of course, to push forward. Now, this is going to be what happens to Valentin Mondana. He gets pushed out a little bit through the penultimate corner. It leaves him the wrong side of 3 wide. And then I believe that's Gianni Vecchio who gives him the tap. And that's how quickly you can lose time. It's such a fast-paced final 2 sections of corners there through Jochen Rindt to Red Bull Mobile. You are pushed out wide through the penultimate corner. You have no time to recover, Connor, and that's what we saw with Mondana.
Yes, indeed. We're already on lap number 5 of 18. That's just how fast this race is flying by here at the moment. It is Nielsen leading from Dattila, from Berrion, from Marceno here for the moment. Gap starting to develop in and amongst all of those drivers, in fact. In terms of battles inside the top 10, I would have to argue the closest one right now will be the one between Vialata and Vecchio, as Vecchio looking to try and press on forwards, because we're not really used to seeing him qualify down in P10 here, Jake. Usually he's solidly inside the top 5 as we look back from Giassi.
Yeah, Jefe Giassi's had a good start. He's up 5 spots at the moment and only needs 3 more to make that transfer position, and he is right in the thick of this train. Looking behind, he's got William Chadwick there, just behind in the Team Ford Zilla car. So there's still going to be opportunities, and this train, believe it or not, stretches back, I would say, to Jakub Maciejewski, who is down in 23rd position. This is a train which, at this moment in time, Connery, is all about the race to get into 8th position, which is held by Conson Vialat at this point in time, and goes up to right now 4th position with Simona Maria Marceno currently heading it at this point in time. It's huge.
Yeah, this is going to be very competitive for these positions. That reverse grid pole position is such a huge amount of leverage to bring into the main race. There's been a few occasions where, of course, drivers have won their races from a reverse grid pole position. You just have to look back to the first round at the Hockenheim Ring, where Giassi was able to take that race win. And we saw the emotions that came out of that one as well. But yeah, this train is absolutely nose to tail together here at the moment. And, well, no one's really been able to make any moves, at least over the last 2 or 3 laps or so. Everyone's kind of stuck where they are for the moment. I have to wonder where the spark will be to cause this to go all sorts of pear-shaped here in the mid-pack.
Yeah, and it's going to be about pick and choose the moment. Alessandro Bico looks really composed right now, does the Italian from Torri in Italy. That's about middle Italy as he runs forward, not a million miles out of Perugia, and now running down the hill towards turn number 2. Now, you can't be aggressive. You can't just go firing down the inside at every single opportunity. You have to be patient. You have to wait. Last lap, he had the door shut on him by William Chadwick just in front. He's got to be patient. He's got to pick and choose the moment. plus you'll have another 36 laps to go. As look at the battle in front. Popcorn position as Giassi now is having to be forced to defend against Chadwick, and he's losing contact in front to the Altus car of Oscar Mangan.
This is looking pretty good for Chadwick, though, because he, of course, was one of our quote-unquote wildcard drivers coming into the day. He got into this season due to finishing high in his national series, which in his case would be the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. So for Chadwick, you know, he didn't really fully expect to see get himself into this series before he presumably got that email from Porsche saying, "Hey, do you want to come and join us in the Contender series?" And well, he's taken this opportunity with both hands here, Jake, and 12th place in the sprint race here at the Red Bull Ring. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby, and at halfway through this race, you start thinking about, okay, well, what do you need to do? Have a look at Tuomas Dattila and Peter Berryman right now. Kova versus Apex Racing, and these two are not only pushing to try and keep the place or stay in position with the place, they're also in the same position right now here, Connery, where they're actually closing down on Kevin Nielsen, who leads this one. That 1.6 second gap at the front of the field has remained about a 1.6 second gap, now down to 1.5, and this is crucial in terms of these two drivers' race, because they're pushing each other back to the race lead.
Indeed they are, and well, both Dattila and Berryman gapping the cars behind here at the moment as well. So in the process of them trying to catch Nielsen, they are leaving Marciano, Ariel, Melgar in their tyre dust here at the moment. And well, Dattila, he knows what it takes to take a race win here in this series. He has already done so at Silverstone, but still this gap to Nielsen is a bit of a tall order with, you would say, 8 to go is a plenty of time. Oh, look at this. Chadwick all the way to the pit wall there, coming down the pit straight. That was crazy stuff indeed. Alessandro Bico involved in this one as well, but that was a big defensive block by the number 88 Team Fortilla car.
Absolutely, it's still continuing on as Kaita tries to hold off Oscar Irina, and there's two going to go around, Bico and Chadwick. Well, that was going to be a case of they were going to fight for every piece of real estate that was out there, and at the end of the day, they ran out of houses to go and build. That ends up in an incident, and both of them get dropped down the order after that, and a disaster for both of them, but it does bring everybody back up then, and a couple more positions to play with.
Yeah, that's going to be one for the stewards after this race is complete, let me tell you that. And, well, there have already been points penalties dished out from rounds previous, so the stewards are on top of things here, but we'll be getting ourselves a replay of this entire situation in just a couple of moments' time. Bico, of course, maybe hard done by being blocked by Chadwick on the previous lap coming down the pit straight. He seemed to have sent one down in towards turn number 2 there, but we'll get more on that as we get the replay prepared. But, well, here we go. We're getting word of it. We get to see the replay of exactly what happens there between Bico and Chadwick. Here's the run down in towards turn number 2. Bico angling to the inside. Oh, that's not a pretty one whatsoever, is it?
He was there, though, and that's where you've got to be alert. You can come back from a long way to make that sort of move, but you have to be alongside at least halfway to say that is my right of road, and I think that was enough to say, in my personal view, there was enough for Alessandro Bico to be allowed that space by William Chadwick, but it is such the fine margins that they've got still that great racing going on for second and for third positions there going on. But I tell you who is, or the two drivers who I think have been the most impressive so far in today's racing, Connery, Simone Maria Marciano and Arturo Melgar. Two drivers on the bubble or just outside the top 15, inside the top 8.
Yeah, they are doing very, very well for themselves here, aren't they? They're gaining those crucial points here in the sprint race to be able to make sure that they're inside that top 15 in points to book themselves a slot for the Super Cup season. For these guys, though, for Dattila, for Berryman, well, P2 is on the cards for either of them here, as Nielsen has been able to extend his gap by another couple of tenths of a second here, so maybe the race win is out of reach for these guys now, but a P2, or rather try to figure out which order they finish on the last two steps of the podium, that will be the main pressing issue here for the moment, and they have space to have this battle as well. There's very minimal risk of any third parties getting themselves involved because Marciano and Ariel are just slightly too far back.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tall order as they go about and try and make sure that this is all going to sort out in terms of what they want from today. This is going to be so crucial for Tuomas Dattila to pretty much secure up a position at this point in time and look at how this race is going to work overall. So that's going to be quite crucial to keep in mind when you've got Berryman behind. They'll be thinking about how many points can we consolidate now at this moment. This is going to be crucial to keep in mind as they go forward. And I believe here, as you take a little look picture in picture, this is what happened to Jakub Maciejewski, who's had a very tough start to this season, and the Polish driver then finding himself around with 360 degrees of spin and back going at the loss of about 4 or 5 positions.
Yeah, Maciejewski, I mean, you put it absolutely correct there, Jake. He has had not the ideal start to this season, languishing down in P27 in terms of points coming into the day, and a situation like that here in the sprint race at the Red Bull Ring is certainly not going to help the situation. But we have 3 laps to go here in the sprint race, and Dattila and Berryman are as close as ever. Berryman hasn't quite been within the couple of tenths required to be able to look for a move down in towards any of these corners. It is really tough to do so, of course. It requires a bit of a brave one down the inside at times. There might also be an element of Berryman thinking, oh, maybe a P3 is a sensible finish here. Although there are some racing drivers here, Jake, that will not settle for any position.
Yeah, and I've just looked at drivers who are looking around that top 15. There has been a moment out on track for Christopher Dambeach, who is 13th in the championship. So he's had a moment at turn 1. Not quite sure exactly what's happened there, but that's not going to be ideal. But for these drivers, it's now consolidation. Simone and Gustavo, they're not going to do anything. And this is actually, I believe, what happened with Christopher Dambeach here. Oscar Bixer just in front. He unsettles him through turn 1. And then the moment that Bixer's out sideways here, Connery, he's got no time to effectively gather the machine back up because everyone's going to be jamming into the corner. And it's still going on racing here with 2 laps to go. That looks like Laissez Back here, who's going to be really trying to have this race with Andre Makias.
Yeah, Laissez Back not been a fantastic sprint race for him. He's going to look and try come back on Mitch's here, but not going to be able to down in towards the penultimate corner here at the Red Bull Ring. There was a little situation between Mondenar and Biko behind as well as they try to sort out their differences. Mondenar slightly slow off of the corner, might just give the opportunity to Alessandro Biko, who will get squeezed up against the pit wall, has to do the change of tack towards the outside in towards turn number 1. Can't make any progress through there though, looks to try and get the drive off the corner. Vandenark will continue to get defensive with it as we have a look back a little bit further forwards here as Zelensky and Jordan Caruso decide to fight it out in these late stages, but we look even further forward. About 2 seconds ahead of Dattila, it's Kevin Nielsen for Fire Simsport that heads his way out of the final corner across the line to take the sprint race win here at the Red Bull Ring. Kevin Nielsen has it. He'll be happy about that one. Further behind, though, it is Alessandro Biko getting himself around Mondenar here as Mondenar has to try and cut his losses. That's a fantastic last lap pass there for the number 77 Williams Esports machine.
One pass, one position could make all the difference come the end of the season. This is a crucial battle, crucial race that they have going on. We consider it's 25 points for a win, then it's 22 for second, 20 points for third. That is a 2-point swing move there for Alessandro Biko compared to Valentin Mondenar. So every point matters, and especially when you consider that they're scoring down to about 20th position, that was the difference between 1 or 2 points.
Let's have a recap of your race results then. It is Kevin Nielsen 2 seconds ahead of Tuomas Dattila, and then Peter Berryman gets himself onto the final step of the podium for the Apex Racing team. Simone Maria Marciano's Altus number 27 finishes in 4th place. Gustavo Ariel in P5. Aucho Melgar in P6 with Matthias Jensen in P7. Violat, Vecchio and Mangan will round out the top 10. We've gotten ourselves our sprint race in the bag here at the Red Bull Ring. You don't want to go away because we have a pretty frantic main race coming up in just a couple of moments' time.
Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. We just had an excellent race number 1 here at the Red Bull Ring, where we do get the opportunity to speak to our race winner of Kevin Nielsen, Jake Sperry, standing by with him.
An absolutely fantastic result once again, and I'm sure one which you can certainly say is fantastic. Kevin, to go into that race and by turn 2 to see 3 wide, almost 4 wide behind you, knowing that it's going to get dicey in that sort of place behind, how crucial was it for you to focus on just what was ahead of you and building a gap early?
Of course, it was definitely nice for me because I could take it more easy and then just focusing on my driving lines and yeah, just take it easy so I could get the win. So it was quite nice.
It's clear you have an affinity from this place. We'll see what you'll be able to do from 8th position overall on the grid for the main race. Kevin Nielsen, your race winner, Connery, from race number 1. This incredible battle in the sprint.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Nielsen's race was basically pitch perfect. He did come under slight amount of threat in towards turn number 1 for the first time, but kept himself well ahead of any sort of troubles and was able to pull out quite a healthy gap towards the end of the race on the order of about 2 seconds, which is no mean feat considering the caliber of drivers in this series. He, however, now has to start from P8 because we have our reverse grid in effect here for the main race. It also means that Conson via Lat will get himself towards the pole position here for the main event. It is Matthias Jensen in P2 with Auto Melgar in P3 with Gustavo Ariel in P4 with Simone Maria Marcello P5, Peter Berryman P6, Thomas Dattela and Kevin Nielsen 7th and 8th respectively. Everyone else starts exactly where they finished here in the sprint race. So we got Vecchio P9, Oscar Mangan P10, and then you have other drivers further down the order that will desperately be trying to lock themselves inside the top 15, maybe getting into the dizzying heights of the top 10 a little bit later on in the race. Jeff Giassi and Bryn Collins will be the drivers that start at the very back of the starting grid here for this main event. The drivers are all ready. I hope you're all ready at home. We're ready here in the commentary booth for yet another race here at the Red Bull Ring. It's off and away, and Vialat immediately towards the inside to try and defend from Jensen here, at least in the early goings. We see 3 wide, potentially for podium spots on the way down in towards turn number 1 for the first time. Has everyone be able to get through there unscathed? I am afraid not. There is a car spun in the middle of traffic
Melgar.
there. That was Melgar. So Melgar having major issues early on as these drivers tried to tiptoe their way around and negotiate this first lap.
I tell you what, Arturo Melgar will feel very hard done by. He had a very bad start, had to recover, was on the outside of 3 wide, going up into the Niki Lauda curve, and it did not play out. He was on the wrong side of everybody else, and that's why he got tipped around in the early stages. The front three have broken away. Conton Violat, Matthias Stockbake Jensen, Gustavo Ariel, your top three at the moment. It is a bit of a larger gap to Duomos Datala, and it's too wide, too deep behind for about, I would say, 16th position onwards.
Yep, it is. There was Mandanar trying to dip his way down the inside of Alessandro Bico. Bico actually forced a little bit wide in that situation as you see these cars scream by on their way down in towards turn number 2. There's the front of the pack there. Violat still leads from Jensen from Ariel, but Jensen got himself a very good run there. Through that middle sector. He's coming under threat now, is Violat on the way in towards the penultimate corner. Jensen tries to commit around the outside, but that door will be shut as they head their way up over the curb into the final corner. No opportunity just yet for Jensen coming off of it, but that was the first shot across the bow for Jensen. Ariel, of course, waiting in the wings here as well.
Matthias Stockbake Jensen thinks he's quicker and is going to lunge for it at turn 1. He's going to say, that's my corner. You like that, don't you? That's a great move, but Gustavo Ariel trying to take advantage on the inside. He might try and take second position away. The only left-hander might be the quantum of solace that is there for Conton Violat. He'll hold on to second position, but suddenly groups back together again, and there is no respite and no peace for the wicked.
Absolutely, it just goes to show how one move can make it have a chain reaction to cars further behind. But in the end of all of that, there was really the only change, of course, was getting Jensen up into that race lead. Ariel wasn't able to get himself any positions gained whatsoever. Here's a replay of the start and potentially what happened to Melgar. It was a 3 wide for third place here. That's well, he's come the worse off of in that situation. Yeah, 3 wide into turn number 1 doesn't usually work here, and there has to be at least one car that bites the bullet and goes off.
Yeah, and unfortunately Arturo Melgar becomes that driver, and it's the worst race to have that happen because this is where maximum points are scored. 50 points out there for a race victory, which Matthias Stockbake Jensen, who sits about 6th in the championship right now, would absolutely love to score and effectively book his place, or put himself in a strong position to book his place into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. So now these drivers who find themselves in these positions right now, first all the way back down to about 15th in this train, who find themselves with a shot of victory here today. They've just got to be patient. Duomos Datala having a little look into the mirrors of Gustavo Ariel, driving in that TXC by Tony Kanan car, trying to hold on to that third position. Ariel on the inside, holding off quite nicely. And I tell you what, as we take a look on board with Ariel, and the top 2 just in front, Matthias Stockbake Jensen and Conton Violat, I think Gustavo Ariel will only go from strength to strength, at least when it came to the qualifying series, Connery. He was a driver who picked up 2 victories in the qualifying series and did so inside the final 3 rounds of the season.
Definitely has the pace to go chasing for race wins here, but it's going to be a tough order, especially considering the caliber of drivers towards the very front of the field. I wouldn't count out Stadler in this battle either. He currently resides in 4th place. You can see Jensen actually taking the middle of the roads there on the way up in towards turn number 1. He knows there's a threat from behind, and a big one indeed, as Violat almost gets him into the back. In fact, I think there was contact. It opens up the opportunity for Ariel to get himself alongside in towards turn number 2, hugging that inside line as much as possible, trying to get clear, coming off the corner. He's got a bunch of oversteer coming out of that one as well. Violat comes back on him on the inside and retains that P2, but it's stacked up everyone behind. Dattel is looking to get involved in this, Berryman as well.
I am amazed that Conton Violat's expression has not changed in the entirety of that moment. Very nearly lost second position, very, very nearly lost contact with Matthias Stockbake Jensen, and that is normal. Absolutely normal for Conton Violat at the moment. He's got ice running through his veins, and Gustavo Ariel, I tried, didn't quite happen. He's still going to have to work and find that position again, but he can't have too many chances like that. And just behind that, a little bit further back in the pack, you've got the likes of Mondanar right now having to absolutely defend from everything going on that inside. Outside of him, Oscar Irene is trying to find that move. Alessandro Bico was sniffing about for a position as well, but Mondanar here, still too wide they go, and they're almost going to be an entire lap there. Here comes Bico.
Oh, Rene's got to be careful here. He's risking getting freight trained Biko towards the inside. A little bit nervous on the brakes though, down into there. Door banging through the middle of the corner, forces Rene out wide, and here comes Lasse back as well, down the inside. Another little shove to the Cover Esports car on the outside, and Rene is getting completely mugged here.
Whoa.
3 wide, 4 wide, coming down the pit straight there, and Rene continues to lose positions. 4 wide once again on the way in towards turn number 1. This is craziness. Somehow they've been able to get through on that. Wow.
This is controlled chaos at its finest. 3 wide still in towards turn number 2 as the likes of Matti Sipilä now finds himself in a bit of a race as well. Everywhere you look, there is going to be someone wanting a position. And if someone's going to want a position, someone's not going to have one. And that's what's going to make this such an entertaining race in the middle of this one as they go through the long sweeping right as they run through the penultimate corner into the final corner of Red Bull Mobile and out onto this front stretch once again. Every driver who's in here has to be alert, no more so than the driver of the number 40 machine right now here, Connery, who is in this in 20th position, Julian Sunen, who is the bubble at this point in time.
Yes, indeed he is. Ooh, a little bit of a mistake there from one of the Contender drivers further deeper in the order. That was Williams having a bit of an issue there. Drops back in behind Dan Beats, but ahead of Miranda. These are for positions outside of the points-paying positions here in the main race. The points extend down into 25th place, so those drivers back there are not going to be scoring any points coming out of this race if they come across the line with the checkered flag out in that position. We recap though, we go back towards the front of the field. The battle for 4th place raging on. Dattila, Berryman, Vecchio, all involved in that one. Nielsen as well as Vecchio sends one down the inside of Peter Berryman here. Berryman almost ran out of roads there. There's a slight run going to Nielsen from behind as well, but he'll back out of that one 2 by 2 in towards turn number 2 as Vecchio tries to hold on the inside. He does so. Berryman looking for an inside that isn't really there as Nielsen and Mangan continue on the fight behind the Fira and the Altus car, having a great battle, and now Keitel is stuck his nose in.
Sam Keitel really wants to get through, and just 2 corners before the move on Peter Berryman. He was looking to get past Duomos Dattila, and now the Urano cars are going to go through. Keitel's got Luca Kita just behind. 1 and 2 go flying through in formation, so they both make that happen, and all of that, just it takes the smallest tinder to light the fire here at the Red Bull Ring, because the top 4 are now gone.
Yeah, they are completely and utterly gone compared to these guys. About 2.5 seconds is the gap between Dattila and Vecchio here at the moment. That is a rift when it comes to this series. It's very hard to catch up those sorts of gaps unless you have a huge pace delta between you and the car ahead. So in this case, I think that's unlikely, and Vecchio, well, he'll definitely struggle with this at this stage. I think his plan is more to keep Berryman, Nielsen, Keitel, Kita all behind him at the moment, rather than go chasing for that top 4. The only situation where I see him factoring in now in terms of that top 4 fight is that if the top 4 start squabbling with each other again and cause more parties to get themselves involved.
I'd say he's got a lot of hope of that happening. We've already seen that happen once in this race between the drivers 2nd and 3rd who are on screen right now. Conson Vialat, who is the pole sitter for this main race, and then you've got Gustavo Ariel in 3rd position, who is looking to try and showcase that the second half of the season is a lot easier for him than the first half. So these 4, they're behaving right now because they know they do not want that group behind to get into position this one. And don't count out Duomos Dattila, who picked up the victory, of course, last time in the main race when it came to Silverstone, and he will want to go back-to-back, but he's going to have to get past 3 very talented drivers in Ariel, Vialat, and Matthias Stockbake Jensen.
Can we just point out how good of a race that Gustavo Ariel has had so far, not only in this main race, but in the sprint race as well. Coming into today, his highest place finish was a 9th place in the feature race at Silverstone. He's already gotten a 5th on the board here in the sprint race. Now he's 3rd in the main. This is turning out to be a good points haul for the number 21.
It is, and all of a sudden here's Alexei Nesov, who's just managed to sneak past Simone Maria Marcheno. So a very important battle between two drivers who are close to the cut line as they look for positions. Alessandro Bico now looking to try and pivot potentially, or look at pivoting with Valentin Mondenar, who was trying to go to the inside. So Mondenar then's going to get one, going to get two there for the troubles. That's wonderfully done by Valentin Mondenar, who is making hay while the sun shines and is up 7 spots in this main race.
Marceno getting himself a slowdown penalty there as well, which certainly hadn't helped the situation, and now he's getting pressured from Zelensky last back. We've also got a few drivers in behind that are looking to try and get themselves involved as well, and well, more side-by-side battling on their way through turns 2 and 3. That's where we've seen most of the action here today, Jake. It seems to be the prime overtaking opportunity here at this racetrack, and drivers using it well, as Maciejewski has gotten himself towards the front of that battle pack now as Zelensky tries to fend off Chadwick.
Yeah, Bobby Zelensky now is going to have to be looking in the mirrors. Cannot catch the Sabel Esports car just in front. We'll have to deal with the Team Fordzilla machine just behind, which will make a big move to the inside. And there is Bobby Zelensky, who will be on the blower to his spotter, saying, this is what I want, this is what I need. I've got Chadwick up on my inside, and there goes one position. It's about to be 2. Look over to the right-hand side, because he will have himself a little bit of trouble. He's okay for the moment, because Oscar Irene ultimately now is going to try and figure out, what do I need to do? That's Julian Sunern, the bubble driver in 15th in the championship, who makes the move around the outside, gets that important point, and Zelensky looks behind, because you've got the Kova car of Rene there, the other Kova car as well of Matti Sipila. So you've got the 2 Kova cars, and how will that tandem offense work?
Oh, they almost get into each other actually, as pulling towards the inside goes Ascari Rina. He's bringing it down on towards pit lane.
That's instant limit.
Must be an instant limit infringement for Ascari Rina. We haven't really had one, or at least an obvious one, since Hockenheimring first round of the season. Rina bringing it down and in with 16 laps of 36 completes here. That is very early to get an instant point limit infringement.
Look at that! Look at his reaction! Head into the steering wheel almost with that, and a big shake of the head. He knows that he has lost a big opportunity to try and get some points. He'll be a lap down, and he can only average an instant point every 2 laps from here on in.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to have a little bit of a recap of the rules here, everyone. Instant point drive-through penalty comes when you get 17 incidents. So 17 instant points, you'll be bringing it down on towards the pit lane for a drive-through penalty. Then after that, if you get 25 instant points to your name, then you get yourself disqualified. No coming back from that one. Completely disqualified. So that's why he has to be so careful now in the final portions of this race to make sure that he stays within that 25-point instant limit. Otherwise, well, his results will be stricken off.
Anton Vierlat here has done really well to pull back Matthias Stockbake Jensen. It hasn't been clear as crystal that the Apex Racing Team car has been able to pull away, and just the work that's been done behind by Gianni Vecchio to bring the entirety of that second pack back into this race. This is by no means sorted and dialed in. Right now it is an 8-car train, I'd say, at the front, and maybe you can say a third group as well, because Jordan Caruso, who's currently in 9th position just in the back of frame, he's just clinging on to the back of 8th position Sam Keiter.
Didier's we're on board with Dattala here at the moment, who's on the end of this 4-car train for the race lead. They all close up on the way through turn 2 and 3, but there's still plenty of time left in this race to go for these guys to settle themselves the order to come across the finish line in. But towards the inside there briefly goes Ariel, maybe to just get himself in the wing mirrors of the car ahead. That's Conton Vierlat. Sometimes those moves to the inside do spook drivers. However, usually it's the more inexperienced drivers that get themselves spooked by those sorts of moves. I think everyone in this field perhaps wiser to it.
Yeah, it's Sim Racers 101 really. Get in the mirrors, make the car as wide as possible. It does work from time to time, but not often do you see it happen at the professional level. It's always worth trying, and you can also get a lot of information by just popping out of line, having a little look down the train 2 or 3, just to see, okay, well, how you know, how much depth is there in the train? How are drivers looking, and what am I trying to get to? What am I trying to picture? It's often that you lose yourself in numbers quite a bit of the time, and sometimes you need a bit of perspective. I like the move from Gustavo Ariel. I like the fact that he's looking, that he's searching, that he's hoping he's got an opportunity, but now he's got to knuckle down because we're heading on to lap 20 now of 36 starting, which means 17 laps to find that all-important moves which gain 2 places.
Indeed, and well, Ariel, he's been very, very good at the back end of the lap here, trying to close the gap, and actually he may just have got himself a bit of a run there as we look and get ourselves a look down to P25 there. This is Bouchard, Beats, Bixrud, Williams, all involved in this train, and I have to guess a few more as well as these guys try to fight over. That's the final points paying position as well. You get a single point for finishing in P25 here in the main race. Bouchard currently occupies that position, but there'll be drivers that will be hard pressing him all the way to the end just for that singular point.
And Phil Bouchard, who qualified in with one of the market slots in this series, there's a maximum of 5 that can be handed out. He took one of them for his performances, winning the Porsche Carrera Cup Canada Championship overall. So he's going to be certainly searching for as much as possible. Someone who is in trouble, though, after this race is going to be another driver who got a seat through the same scenario, Christopher Danbeets, who got his result through the German series. He's down in 26th position and struggling a little bit. But here's Alexei Niesov out there on track, who is definitely thinking about 11th position. It's the 2 Urano cars who are there together, and Niesov here is going to try and figure out how to get past the likes of his teammate Luka Kita.
Kita was slightly faster than him on that last lap, and they are just a second or so from that big, long train that extends all the way from second place down to 10th place of Oscar Mangan. So they are catching this grouping, which is positive to see from them. So I don't expect to see any negotiations in terms of the positions there for Urano, at least until they get onto the back of this train and they know they can potentially press on forwards here in this race. Meanwhile, further up in towards turn number 1, that's Jeffrey Yassi going very, very wide there. Milkers will get himself towards the outside here for turn number 2, swinging it down and in that number 25 car. Danbeets on the inside looking to stick his nose in, perhaps where it doesn't belong here. It looks like we've got a couple of more drive-through penalties coming through. Sipila, Zelensky, the black flag is out for them.
Yeah, and we got Matti Sipila on screen here, which just shows you how easily you can get in trouble in the mid-pack, because it just takes one hit and a huge slide, and that will be an unsafe entry into the pits as well. So double trouble, because you can't go over that white line and dive in. You've got to get it slowed. So 2 penalties then for Matti Sipila, 1 for an unsafe entry, and there is Christopher Danbeets, the Team Redline machine, that's going to have to be looking at just holding off the line, pushing one of the youngest drivers in the field, Oscar Bixrud, out there, and ultimately for Bixrud, knows it's going to have to be some patience. You can't afford to barge your way through. It's certainly going to be some patience, and I tell you what, keep an eye up at the front, because Gustavo Ariel once again is thinking about Conton Violat in second position.
Yeah, Violat's starting to struggle maybe in the back end of this race. A gap has developed between himself and Jensen at the very front. It's bottled everyone else up behind. Ariel to the inside. He's getting pressured himself, by the way, by Dattila, as Dattila forces his way towards the outside here. Not quite able to get himself alongside there through the exit of the corner. His speed will be compromised now down in towards turn 2 as Vecchio looks to try to go the long way around on him. If you can hang it out there, you can get yourself to the inside for turn number 3, but Vecchio's been unsuccessful in doing so. It's so close, and now it's all part of the chain reaction here, Jake. Berryman has a run.
And round 1, Berryman was not very happy with Gianni Vecchio in his defence, and Vecchio once again shut the door firmly on Peter Berryman. Will not let him pass for love nor money at this point in time. He knows that this is such a crucial phase of this race, that you've got to stay in position inside the top 5, and Peter Berryman right now will just wistfully look at one Mr. Gianni Vecchio just in front and say, I'm going to figure out which way I want to make this move. On the brakes, into turn 2, it's going to have to wait some more and hope that the group in front continues to have their moments out there, because Contender Violat clearly has the pace here, Connery, to get by Matthias Stockbeck Jensen. I think he's just waiting for the pace, because that gap came back to 3/10 very quickly.
Yeah, it did. So maybe not an overall theme for the back end of this race for Violats. Maybe just a little bit of a blip on the radar for a couple of laps, losing that gap. But now, like you said, Jake, it has been reeled back in as we continue to ride on board there with Peter Berryman trying to put Vecchio in his sights here at the moment, but hasn't had an opportunity to get by, at least as we head on towards the next lap here through turn number 1. Gap still available for them there. As we have a look further back through the order, that's going to be Alessandro Bico and Mandana heading their way into turn number 2 here. Bico getting himself a good amount of mid-corner speed there. A slight error from Mandana. He's overcommitted a little bit to that initial apex of the corner and had to be slow through the middle to try and make sure he can get off it correctly. And Bico just gobbled up all that time.
And Mondana, of course, made 7 places up earlier on, but no more. So Mondana has been stuck in 13th, which is lucky for some. And Alessandro Bico, who's been also working to get those positions back. Remember what happened in the sprint race, Connery, with how this happened? Last lap, Alessandro Bico made the move. It's gearing up for a repeat performance here. Eyes to the inside, not going to get there at turn 1.
It wasn't a lunge into turn 1 last time, it was a lunge into turn 2, and it looks like Bico has a slight run. He has the overspeed on the way down into 2, but he's not going to make the lunge this time around. Another mistake through the middle of the corner though for Mondana. That's a second lap in a row. He's done the exact same thing.
I think the tyres have started to go, and it'll be that rear left which will be the problem one around this circuit. But you've got a circuit like this one, which only has one left-hand corner. The rest of the right-hand corners, it's the left-hand side tyres that get all the load through corners like this one at Jochen Rindt. This is one of the toughest corners out there into Red Bull Mobile. All the load goes on that back left tyre, especially in a rear-wheel drive car like this one is. It's so easy for the rears just to step out, and so you have to correct that by going deeper into the corner. The man from Santa Maria P is going to have to look, and once again, inside this time, I think it's a tyre issue, as down the inside goes the Williams Esports driver.
Bico to the inside through turn 2. This has seemed to be the preferred line through here, despite the switch back in terms of the corner direction. And Mandana has lost that position. Now he has to be looking in his mirrors, because Simone Maria Marciano is bearing down on him here as well, in the Altus Esports number 27 car. Marciano, of course, on a bit of a recovery drive from where he started. He's in 15th now. He started, though, in 5th place. So that's a net loss of 10 positions there for Marciano that he desperately wants to get back. And, well, he does seem to have the pace here for the moment. He gets the slipstream on the way in towards Lauda curve here. It's not much of one in terms of the straights here. As who's that around? Oh, that's
Ariel.
Ariel, yeah. Ariel having major problems. And look at him. He's just losing so many spots on the way in towards 2.
Dattler was desperate to find a way through, and all of a sudden, there is the powder keg, and that is how the race happens. Everyone now scrambles for position out there. Ariel, unperturbed by at this point in time, will just have to try and get those positions back. He's behind Sam Keitel at this point, and just behind now, who also lost out a lot, Gianni Vecchio having to fight with Jordan Caruso. Oh my goodness, Oscar Mangan having a massive slide, able to hold it together, all kicking off. And all this now means is that third position through all of this is Dattler, Berryman 4th. Keitel started 12th in this race, he's up to 5th.
Here's Luca Kita in towards Lauda curve, then on the Altus car of Oscar Mangan. Mangan recovers it to the inside though. Comes Alessandro Bico, 3 wide into turn number 2 with Bico on the inside. He's got disposed of one. Can he do anything about Kita? Kita has the inside for turn 3. He has the momentum coming off the corner as well. Not the 2-for-1 special that Bico would have hoped, but at least gets one.
That is pretty much the best response for drivers who are stuck on the outside, and it showed there. Bico still searching for places, and behind they're also going Mangan and Mandana are there as well. So this is all about stay calm, because you'll get drivers right now like Luke Kita, for example, who might be a little bit rattled with what happened just in front, and there might be a chance to to get the move up into the Niki Lauda curve, straight up the inside, and that is just beautifully done by Alessandro Bico.
Yeah, 2 passes in quick succession here. He has to hold on to this one into turn 2. There's a lunge behind. Mandanar down the inside of Kita. This is a fantastic battle here for the positions just outside of that top 10. Major points on offer in and around here, and well, it certainly shows as they're trying to scrap for every single one of them. 6 laps to go here at this point, though, coming up to actually 5 laps to go as Jensen heads his way out of the final corner now. So not too long before this race is done. We see, oh, there's an Altus Esports car down on towards the pit lane. That's Oscar Mangan, and not really any surprise considering how he's been the punching bag so far, this one.
There's Luke Kita from Duisburg in Germany on the brakes in towards turn number 1. You can see there just at the bottom there, just about where his microphone is, you can see the final track of this season, of course, of Imola. That's going to be crucial. That's where you find out whether you're top 15 or you're going to have to wait another year. But for Luke Kita, he knows it's going to be about patience now, 1 position at a time, and pretty much ride the coattails. Hope that there's going to be an opportunity, but there are less and less opportunities as time goes on. There'll be 4 laps to go at the line, and there are still about 4 drivers, I think, who could take this victory away. Stockbait Jensen, Vialat, Dattala, and then Peter Berryman in 4th.
Unless Dattala has anything to say about this, we'll be getting another different winner here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series. For Matthias Jensen, though, it will be a repeat in a sense, because you had a Danish winner for the sprint race. We might have a Danish winner for the main race here as well, but look at how stacked up they are for all these front couple of positions. You could throw a blanket all over them here with 4 to go, and you're absolutely right. Any one of these drivers, Jake, inside of this front pack here could, at the end, when the checkered flag falls, come across the line first and get all the points associated with it, and all the glory, of course, riding on board with your current race leader of Matthias Jensen. Now the pressure starts to build because Vialat is really turning up the heat.
He's 17, 2 weeks and 1 day is Matthias Stockbait Jensen. He knows that in this race he is going to have to look behind at Conton Vialat, and the man from Culling is going to have to really put his best defensive foot forward. Every single corner now has to be planted to perfection. Has done so at this point in time from 2nd position on the grid, took the lead at turn 2 and has not looked back since. Now it's going to be about what number 57 can do about number 81 behind, because Conton Vialat has been sat there all race waiting.
He has, yes, the gap has been fluctuating closer, further away, over most of this race, but it's these last couple of laps where it all counts here. Jensen able to get back up to 0.4 of a second, but Vialat, where is he going to strike here in this situation? Will he even get the opportunity to try and send one to the inside, outside potentially of Jensen? We will just have to wait and see. A couple of alternate lines being taken through turn number 2, but for Vialat, this is a very, very pressure-filled situation for him as well, because not only is he looking at Jensen ahead, Dattala, a race winner already this season, is in 3rd place and wouldn't mind getting himself a step or 2 higher on the podium.
Absolutely not, and I'd certainly say that Duomos Dattala would love another victory, say it would be exactly what he deserves for the result he's got. And hard to the inside then will go Matthias Stockbait Jensen, covering off any line into the opening corner, and this is just going to put him in the wrong position. I don't think he quite needed to defend that. He's going to be all over the curb off of the exit. This is the chance then on the final lap here, Connery. Vialat's got to search for this. He's really got to try. He's got 2 corners that maybe could open up a victory.
Yeah, Jensen, maybe the pressure's gotten the better of him there. Maybe some unnecessary defenses down into some of these corners, but he breaks away through the right-hand turn there. He's got the gap down into Rindt, perhaps, unless Vialat has anything to say, unless Jensen bowls it for a driver from a country where esports has been a part of the culture so much over the last couple of years. Matthias Jensen comes across the line to take a main race win here at the Red Bull Ring Fantastic stuff from the number 57 Apex Racing Team car. It was close behind. It's close for battles even further back as well as this car set to the inside. Someone's around. That's Christopher Dambeats. Dambeats falling down the order.
That's just the end of the race that Christopher Dambeats didn't want. A race meeting to forget, and it will continue on from there. But what a win for Matthias Stockbake Jensen, Connery. That, you could see, he was pumped. When you put a driver in a pressure situation like he was in this race, you either get them to crush like coal or turn into diamonds. Matthias Stockbake Jensen turned into a diamond.
He absolutely did, and it was only by a margin of, 0.279 seconds at the very end there. Violat's so close, but yet so far. He gave it his best shot, though. You saw the amount of pressure he was piling on him in the final couple of laps. Dattila getting himself another podium here. Not the race win that he had at Silverstone, but he'll certainly take all the points associated with P3. Peter Berryman with another good finish there in P4 as well. Sam Keitel getting up there. Top 5 finish for the number 28 car with Ariel in 6th place as well. We see the drivers outside of the top 10 there. Lasse back, a disappointing P15 it would be for him. Will Chadwick P16, giving himself a good points haul here, at least compared to where he finished in the previous 2 rounds. And then we look down towards the bottom. It's Dambeats P24. That's the position he fell back into. And a couple of names at the back as well. Bryn Collins, Oscar Mangan not having a great day either. Our retirement, Siepela and Yarshall as well round out the 32 car finishing results here. But we are going to be heading into the Bose post-race show here, Jake, and we get a recap of what happened to Dambeats in the final corner.
It's just about number 73, and that is Philippe Bouchard, who is trying to find a way through. Final corner, you're going to have to try and put an opportunity through. But the difficulty there for Christopher Dambeats was he was in a position where he was already losing pace anyway, and then at that point onwards, he's in the wrong position. So that's how quickly, Connery, it can go from good to bad to downright ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that so many times today. We talk about the Grand Prix layout of the Red Bull Ring being such a momentum track, and it's the same for the shortened layout as well. As soon as you're caught offline, you've got a whole freight train of cars behind you that are all looking to try and get their way through, and there's really not all that much you can do about it except trying to defend hard, but then you run the risk of getting punted off in that situation as well. So it's a really, really hard one to take there for Christopher Dambeats for sure, Jake, and he'll definitely be licking his wounds after this one, as we might get ourselves a little bit of a chat with our drivers here, Jake, and well, you're standing by with Matthias Jensen.
I am. Matthias Stockbake Jensen here with me. Now, Matthias, a crucial race for you, especially when you consider that you had Conton Violat right behind you for the entirety of that race. Just talk about the ebbs and flows, because it looked like you'd build up a little bit of a gap, then Conton would pull that gap straight back in. How difficult was it in terms of getting that little bit of a gap and then suddenly not having that?
Yeah, so I went for the move early on because I knew it would be hard to get the overtake back from Quintin, and yeah, I knew it wouldn't be easy to keep it because the tires are it's very hard to keep them for 36 laps. So that was my idea, was to just not let him by again. And yeah, it went really well, and yeah, there was for sure some pressure on with Quintin, he closed up quite a few times, but yeah, it was good racing, and yeah, happy that I took the win.
You've been moving from strength to strength. You came into this inside the top 10 in the championship. Now, for sure, you move inside the top 5 and closer to the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. Just how important has it been just getting the time in, the effort that's been put in with Apex and everyone around, and having a mentor like Peter Berryman helping you out?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really thank the team enough. It's huge thank you to the team. All the effort, all the support and help, and especially Pete as well. It's great to have such a talented guy helping me for this series. So just huge thank you to the whole team.
Matthias Stockbake Jensen there joining us, picking up the race victory here in the main, making it 6 different winners in 6 different races here with us overall. That will now lead us over to the driver who finished second position overall, which ended up being Conton Violat. Now, Conton, a really, really difficult race in the sense that everyone was going to be looking here, there, and everywhere. You lost the lead early on, but were sat in position with Matthias just in front of you. In terms of taking second, are you more happy that you got the second place points, or are you looking at that race thinking first position was possible for you?
Well, just for first, hello everyone. Honestly, I'm a bit sad to not take the first position, but at this point in the championship, I'm not really safe due to my first round in Hockenheim, which was really bad. So yeah, I'm happy to take this P8 and P2 on this round. Gonna definitely help me for the rest of the championship, but well, I take it. It was like a really hard feature race with Matthias because he had a little bit slower pace than me, but I was just not able to overtake because the car was just destroying the tires, and there is no place to overtake on this track, unfortunately.
Well, a difficult place to find overtakes, but you certainly kept yourself right up in there. For you as a French driver, with an esteemed French team like R8G, with an esteemed boss like Romain Grosjean helping you out, just how important has that team culture been for you at R8G, building up such a fantastic dynamic of very quick, very talented drivers who are looking to try and push up into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup?
Oh, they're actually just fantastic because we are a little group of few drivers, but everyone is friends with everyone, and we are working really well together. And at the end, our objective is, our aim is to join the Porsche Esports Supercup. So we are giving 110% of ourselves every week, and we will see what is possible to do at the end of the Contender series. But yeah, the energy is definitely a good thing for me and for everyone in the energy. We can really work hard together, and I think that's what we need to be competitive in this game.
I think you've been proving that absolutely fantastically. Conton Violat joining us then, second position overall, which leads the driver who finishes off in position number 3. Duomos Datala will be joining us then, third position overall. So question now, Duomas, is first and foremost, you and Gustavo Ariel up at turn 1, because that looked like it was a case of you were wanting to get through lap after lap after lap, and then all of a sudden it just takes one small deviation here or there, and the corner doesn't work.
Yeah, I have to say sorry to Gustavo. It was just didn't see the situation right and tried to take advantage of his slower speed at the apex, but yeah, I was just going too fast and then nothing I could do after that. It's a good thing he survived, and still good points for him as well.
It's a second, it's a third, it's major points. It really boosts your opportunities out there. And in terms of now how you're looking at the final 3 rounds of this season and what should be an incredibly difficult battleground at Watkins Glen 1 week from today, are you looking at that as some different drivers are going to have those opportunities? And how do you think the drivers are going to react knowing they've gone from a track which is almost impossible to overtake at to a track where overtaking at turn 4 is going to be pretty much almost every lap?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Maybe not the kind of racing I particularly enjoy, but yeah, we'll see what we can do. Definitely won't be focusing 100% on this series anymore, but yeah, still see what I can do, and it's definitely good experience for the actual PESC with the same track as well. So yeah, gotta see what we can do. Another special one.
Well, we'll certainly see indeed. Tuomas Datala there joining us, 3rd position overall then. And Connery, this puts into perspective just how much work that you've got to put in inside the opening 3 rounds of the championship, because it's now given Tuomas Datala the opportunity to say, I'm not going to put 100% in. And just look at the margin he's got. He's got over 100 points right now. He's got that opportunity to say, I can just take my foot off a little bit. I do have a buffer room, and maybe my focus now is, you know, coast through, make sure with a couple of rounds to go, I'm going to be safe and I'm going to be back in the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup.
That should be the plan. However, for drivers in and around that top 15, it's anything but. You can see Melgar, currently the driver that gets in by the skin of his teeth. Alessandro Bico, with the amount of action he was involved in today, he still has not quite got himself inside the top 15 there. And with Christopher Dambeats losing all of those positions at the end of the main race, he drops outside of the top 15 as well. It just goes to show here, Jake, one incident can mean you being in the season, in the Super Cup season next time, and you being having to think about trying to qualify again.
15th to 18th are split by 2 points. If that doesn't tell you how close it is at the halfway stage of the Porsche Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series, I don't know what does. And what I love, Connery, is that next week we're at Watkins Glen.
Yep, we head stateside here in the Porsche Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series. That'll be happening, well, exactly 1 week's time. October 15th, same time, same place here on the Porsche channels. I've been Connery Maddock. I've been joined by the ever wonderful Jake Sperry here on the Porsche Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series. We'll see you at the Glen.